Welcome everyone to the 18th Annual Tallgrass Film Festival. I want to thank all of our amazing sponsors and everyone out there for joining us for the films. We couldn't do it without you. If you're enjoying yourself, please make sure you're letting everyone know on Facebook and Instagram, and you're tagging at Tallgrass Film and hashtag Tallgrass 2020. I would like to welcome all my guests today. We've got a bunch of people from the drama shorts block with us today. And so we're gonna just kind of go around the room and have everyone kind of introduce themselves and let everyone know what what role you had in the film. So we'll get started with you, Allyson. Welcome.
Sure. Hey everybody, I'm Allyson Morgan. I am the writer producer of Sitting, and I also played Bryn.
All right, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. And Jennifer?
My film is Baby Kate. I wrote and directed and produced and acted in it.
All right, and we've got Willa in the house. Welcome, Willa.
Hi, my name's Willa, and I directed the film Anna and Sloane Go to the Beach.
All right. And we've got Umar here.
Hi guys, I'm Umar Malik. I wrote, directed, produced Prowler.
All right. Well, I'm so happy to have you guys here. Just to make sure I was well versed in these films, I decided to watch them again this morning, and it was quite a nice way to get into the day. We've got some definite drama going on here. So one thing I like to kind of touch base with everyone, I'm always intrigued to see kind of everyone's origin stories, if you will. But I guess we'll get started with Willa. Willa, what, do you remember a time when you said, that's it, I want to make movies? Was there an inspiration, or was there a film, or was there something that said, that's what I want to do?
I don't know if there was one particular film. I know that a lot of people have, one moment in their life where they're like, that was the film. But I think I just always, throughout my life, I've been like inspired by lots of mediums of art and storytelling. And so from childhood, I was like really into photography and into making like stop motion with my flip phone and like my Windows Movie Maker on my laptop, because I'm 22, so like I grew up with that technology already. So it was something that I was like kind of always doing with my brother growing up. And I think I just decided that I was originally going to like try to get really into photography. And I think like for me, the more narrative, like kind of the accessibility of being able to make like a narrative story with film was like really exciting for me. And I think I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to try to do that one day. And here we are.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, you made it. That's awesome. Not everyone can say that. Not everyone's got the gusto to stick with it. Filmmaking is not easy. I think that's really interesting. See, I'm 36, so I was like kind of right on the cusp. It was just before I didn't get to do all this stuff when I was younger, and I never put forth the effort until later on. So that's really cool. Allyson, how about for you? What brought you here?
I come to filmmaking from a performance background. So I have always been an actor first, and I started writing and producing really to facilitate opportunities for myself as an actor. Although in the last 5 years or so, I've really been focusing more on the writing part of my creative life. And this is the first time I've ever written something for myself and put it out in the world. So I have a lot of anxiety about it. But like even when I was a kid, I used to watch the Oscars red carpet. Like I love the fashion, I love the glamour, I love the idea of celebrating creativity. Even though award shows or whatever, I still kind of love the idea that people get together to celebrate storytelling. I just always thought that was a really, really cool thing to be a part of, and always wanted to be a part of it. So I'm happy to hear in this group there are a lot of multi-hyphenates, because I feel like sometimes you get that advice that if you do many things well, you don't do one thing great. And I've always tried to fight back against that and try to be creative and tell stories in as many ways as possible.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. And it makes sense to kind of create your space for you to act in and to have those vehicles and stuff. I mean, sometimes you got to like just do it yourself, right?
Yeah.
Our motto is stubbornly independent here at Tallgrass Film Festival, so that fits really well. And the one thing that I was going to mention before that I just totally spaced on, Willa, was I'd always thought what you had mentioned made me think of the fact that what I love about film is that it's kind of like all art put together. It doesn't work without the music, and it doesn't work without the color and the cinematography and all of those things. And so, yeah, I think that's really cool. So Jennifer, what brought you to this place?
So I'm similar to Allyson, where I come from a performance background as well. I'm primarily an actor, but I've always been interested in directing. I've directed theater, but I'd never directed film. I do not fancy myself a writer at all, although I did write this piece. There was a lot of grace in the performance that Jason Ritter gave to the words. He made them sound much better than they were on the page. And then I actually found myself editing the script quite a bit in the post process of editing the film. But I knew that I wanted to direct. I wanted to try something simple and small where I was setting myself up for success, where it was, 3 actors, 1 location, could shoot it in 1 day, that it was more performance based, character driven story, nothing too fancy, no crazy cranes or drones or anything like that. Just something that was really simple and focused on the story that was being told, which are the kinds of films that I really like. And as I started as a theater actor, where that's all that I did until I was about 25 years old. And then I started to work with the Duplass brothers, who do things, very small, very contained. They really think about how do we tell stories as efficiently as possible. So that's kind of the sensibility that I came up in for the first several films that I worked on, and I've worked with them on their TV shows. So I was trying to take what I've learned from them in that way of working and put it to this short film. So that's what we did. And Jason Ritter is a friend, so I asked him to be in it with me. And the little girl, I used to babysit her from the time that she was 5 months old. So she already had a great relationship with me, and I have a great relationship with her. So it was really easy to work with both of them. And then we just had a really small, tight crew of people in our house, just kind of racing for shooting all the pages in 1 day.
That's awesome. I adore the Duplass brothers and everything they do, and just their mantra and the way they attack things. And I read their book that came out a couple years ago, Two Brothers, a couple of times.
Yeah, brothers.
So fantastic. Well, very cool. And Umar, welcome. So what made you want to tell stories?
I ask myself that a lot of times, and I honestly don't even know at times. Like, my upbringing was it didn't involve art or film much at all. The only thing I ever really had was I did have this love of film, that I would always use film as a kind of a crutch to kind of get away from the world, and I would constantly be interested in movies and watching films and things like that. And it kind of, when I went to college, there was a real struggle in my mind of what I want to do. And my mom and my family obviously was pushing oh, be a doctor. But there was just something in me that was oh, maybe my college had a film program. And I was maybe I should try that and see what happens. And so I did. And I went to school for film, and I graduated, and I ended up moving to LA and started working for various brands and companies. And in between, I would be making short films and writing. And I started writing because I at first wanted to just direct. But then I kind of realized it's hard to find stories that I want to tell to direct. So I started writing. And at first it was awful, the things I was writing. But as I kept doing it, as the years went on, as I got more experience, I got better, and I kind of fell in love with writing as well. And now basically everything I do, I write and direct. And I don't really see myself as doing or directing anything that I didn't write, because I feel filmmaking for me has become such a like personal experience, in that it's really a projection of my feelings and my emotions. And that's what I think I love about it. And that's what I think I've come to love about it. Just that idea of like expressing yourself and being vulnerable and using your voice in a way that is very personal to you and very intimate to you. And kind of it's a weird journey how I got here. And I sometimes ask myself, like, how did this happen? You know, like I a lot of times I don't have the answer, but I'm here now. So.
Well, I'm glad you're here now. No, that's awesome. And I'm sure that probably speaks a lot to the other multi-hyphenates in the group. I feel like, I don't know, there's this weird feeling that when someone writes and directs something, it's like all of a sudden you feel like you're seeing like their whole vision from like start to finish. And it's this, I think it can yield really incredible results.
And I think I've always had like a rebellious side to me, and that like I don't want to do things for other people or that other people want me to do. So writing and directing is very attuned to who I am, because I have like control of the story as a whole.
Well, kudos to you guys, because I can't write to save my life. It's hard. And throughout this conversation, if anyone has anything they want to touch on, someone else's thoughts and stuff, like let's make a conversation out of this. Feel free to jump in at any time. So, okay, cool. Well, it's always awesome to hear where people are coming from. So just to touch on some of the films. So, Willa, what was it like, the talent in Anna and Sloane Go to the Beach? The girls are just so fantastic. I mean, what was the casting like? How do you find the right girls, and what was it like working with them?
Yeah, the casting and the directing of the young girls process is probably my favorite part of making this film, just because like it's so like fulfilling to work with kids for me. I just like I love the energy that they bring to the set, though it can be, distracting for some. I thought that these girls are just like the most professional and like most enthusiastic and excited and creative actresses I've ever worked with. And like, they also happen to be, 12 and 14 years old. So it was actually just like an amazing process. But the casting process, it was definitely the most important, because we wanted to find like these specific characters. And when we were writing it, because like three of us kind of like created the story together, and as we were creating it, we were kind of basing these, like the producer, myself, and then our screenwriter, the three of us, kind of created this story. And as we were doing it, we were kind of implementing parts of ourselves into these characters. Like it's a lot. It's almost, if you were to take the three of us and put us into one person, it would be autobiographical kind of, because it's sort of a mesh of our lives and our experiences of growing up. And so finding these characters, we were like, we really want to find people that can reflect those parts of us. And an important thing for me was like in casting specifically, like, so for casting the character of Anna, who is this kind of a little bit more rebellious 13-year-old, and she really wants to grow up and get out, and she kind of has this escapism attitude and wanting to like impress the older kids and break the boundaries a little bit. I think for her, I wanted it to feel like a push. Like I wanted it to feel like she's trying very hard. And so I didn't want an actress who was extremely extroverted and extremely outgoing for that character, because I wanted to feel like it was kind of hard for her to do this and like it was pushing her own boundaries. And so for that character, we casted a girl who's actually she's very like kind of more reserved. And for the main character of Sloane, we casted a girl who is really extroverted and really confident in herself. And it kind of created this funny juxtaposition, because they're playing characters that are not exactly opposites, but don't go perfectly well with those personality types. And so to see them push themselves was really cool, because it almost provided for like an even better performance, because it felt like the character of Anna was trying really hard to seem cool. And it wasn't that she was cool, it was that she was trying to be cool. And so that was just like a really cool little tidbit from their personalities. But the casting process was really well. We casted for like we did a couple days of auditions, and then we did a day of chemistry reads. And the second the two of them came into the room together, we were like, yeah, that's the pair. And the coolest part was that they came in and they both were like, we have something to tell you. And we were like, what do you have to tell us? And they go, we know each other. And we were like, do you? And like, we had no idea that they knew each other. And they were like, yeah, we're in acting classes together. My sister's in like a class with her. Like our moms are friends. Like we have the same like birthmark or something. Like they had all these little things they needed to tell us. And it was just adorable. And so we were like, yeah, there's not even, I mean, we have to cast these girls. And so on set, they carpooled every day or whatever. They're both from the same part of LA. And, you know, they just brought like such a life to the whole set because they were already friends. We didn't really have to work that friendship up, but we did, you know, I did try to push them in different directions. But their friendship was just like so natural. So we were lucky.
Yeah, they were fantastic. Yeah. They were so great.
Great.
So Allyson, in Sitting, so you show up well, you're fantastic for starters, but I really loved your character, Bryn, in it. And so how do you go about writing for yourself? I mean, do you write for your strengths? Do you write to make yourself uncomfortable and really push yourself? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, it's hard when you don't think that you're good at anything you do. You know, when I write in general, I tend to write in my own voice because I don't know how else to do it. But I will say with this, I was not writing, imagining myself playing it. I was just writing with Bryn's voice, which just happens to be my voice. And then when I was talking to my co-producer about putting it all together, and the duo Jones, who directed it, who are two British dudes who are friends of mine, we all just kind of put our heads together and said, ultimately, why wouldn't I do it? That it just seemed, again, like a good creative opportunity for me when I've been looking to kind of dig into more acting roles that would showcase different parts of my abilities, I guess. So we offered it to me, and then Louis, who plays Kyle in the film, is just he's been a long-time friend through the theater world in New York. And you guys may know him from Hunters and from Kidding and from Predator 2. And so he very kindly agreed to come in and do this with me. But I knew that I wanted to work with somebody that I knew. I feel like the material is pretty sensitive. And I knew that going in with a pre-existing relationship would just really like add to that fabric.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Louis because the second he came on screen, I was like, is that Mr. Pickleson? And I got so excited because I love Kidding. Jim Carrey was the reason I ever wanted to be an actor. So yeah.
Shout out to Kidding. If anybody hasn't seen it, it's a beautiful dark comedy by another friend of ours, Dave Holstein, that sadly just got canceled. But it's a really beautiful piece of work. And Louis, who's in Sitting, is in the first season.
Yeah, he's fantastic, and you were fantastic as well. So let's see here. So Umar, so on Prowler, like, what made you want to tell that story? You know, obviously, and it's a beautiful kind of night, and you know, I'm kind of taking in all the sounds and everything, and then I'm watching it, and then I realize this is the problem, because I see a beautiful night and I feel like the lead character sees nothing but obstacles and fear. So, I mean, what makes you want to tell this story?
It was kind of a variety of things. Like, obviously the events over the past summer were a big part of it. And I wanted to kind of get away from the politics and the noise and everything and tell a more human story, something that was more grounded in an experience, in a human experience. So it kind of came from that desire to like put an audience in the shoes of an experience that they wouldn't otherwise know of. and just have them kind of live through that. And I want it to be very like minimal, because the story itself is just the kid goes from A to B, right? But it's about the journey in between, and what does that look like for his character, and what does that feel like, and how does he interpret the world in a way that I think most of us don't interpret the world. So it kind of comes from that. I want to humanize the experience and humanize what like Black Lives Matter and people of color in this world kind of feel, and put a face to that and put an experience to that, rather than just like political talking points or whatever's going on. So it kind of came from that. It struck me as he was just so incredible, the actor, and in conveying all of these emotions of something as simple as just having to cross someone or come up behind someone on the street and not startle them, and just all of just having to tiptoe through life out of fear, and it was just heartbreaking. So it was a wonderful. Right, and I worked with him very closely to kind of conceive the story and the events that go on. I kind of wanted him to be a lot of the driving force of the events, and because I didn't want to be the one who's like telling him like what his experience is. I wanted the experience to come from him naturally. So we worked really closely in like making sure that it was his experience that I was showing, rather than my interpretation of the experience.
Absolutely. Sorry. And Jennifer, so you mentioned obviously, you work with the Duplass brothers, and you're working on all this amazing stuff. And so you knew Jason Ritter ahead of this thing? Because I mean, I see him, and me being a horror nerd, I go, hey, that's Jason Ritter from Freddy versus Jason. Big fan. So what was it like working with Jason, and can you just tell me a little bit about what made that project, approachable in the way that you said it was?
Yeah. Jason is just the loveliest. He is an amazing actor, but he's also just the kindest, gentlest, most empathetic human that you could ever want to work with. I wrote it and I sent it to him. He works all the time and he's very, very busy. So I did not have any expectations of him having the time to work on this short film or not. But he replied right away and he's like, oh my God, we have to do this. I'm in, let's go for it. Sorry, my baby's crying. It's okay. So it's very hard to concentrate. So this was the first time I had ever written anything. And I did not have great confidence in it at all. But when he came, it was, I'm an actor. So of course, when I show up to a job, I know my lines, I know what's happening, I know what my goals and objectives and obstacles and all that stuff is. But it was really trippy for me to have an actor come in and to like have memorized lines that I wrote, and to have brought such a beautiful perspective and intention to it. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, he actually came prepared, which I don't know what I expected. Of course he should come prepared, but I felt like really touched and honored that he came and he just brought so much to it and made it so much better than it would have been in the hands of a lesser actor. And then for where the film came from, I had been on a fertility journey of my own. Aforementioned crying baby shows that it all worked out okay, but it was a little touch and go there for a while. So I became really involved with fertility communities, and I was really upfront and open about my own journey, which made people that I knew really be open with their own journeys. It's amazing how when you share a story, people are like, oh yeah, I did IVF, or oh, I had a miscarriage, or this happened to me, or that happened to me. And you realize that people just really don't talk about that very often, certainly not widely, openly. And even people who I consider really dear friends, I had no idea things that they had gone through. So I spent a lot of time thinking about that, both because I was going through it myself and also just witnessing what other women go through, and men as well, but you know, really women experience it in a different way, and how people process grief, really. I mean, and grief in the sense of fertility, and also in other aspects as well. And here she is, right here. Do you want me to take her?
No.
2.5.
Right half.
Yeah.
Right in here.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
I
good.
can give her 2.5.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
She's fine.
She's teething, and she got her vaccine shots yesterday, so she's like not the happiest camper right now, but she's hanging in. So I think that, you know, human emotion in any extreme is really interesting and fascinating. I think that grief is one that I spend a lot of time thinking about, and I'm assuming, so people have seen the film, so it's not a spoiler, right?
Yeah. We can talk pretty openly at this point. We'll just say spoilers.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the film,
Yeah, spoiler
before you watch the
yeah. So, you know, it's basically, it's, you know, how do you, yeah, I mean, I don't even need to go into too much more than that. Just how do different people handle grief that stems from the same exact event, but it can vary so widely how they process it and how they move on, and whether they're able to move on from it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story with us. It was incredibly moving. I do know that we've got Allyson's got another Q&A she's got to go do. So she's going to jet out of here. Thank you so much for joining us, Allyson.
Thank you, guys. I can't wait to watch all of your films. They sound incredible.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
Bye, guys. I'll
All
find
right.
on social media.
Yes. Sorry, you're like pouring your heart out, and I'm like, hey, I gotta let Allyson go.
No.
I'm so sorry.
I'm glad that you got her out in time.
Like over here, like I don't want to type while you're talking, like sharing your story. Yeah, it was just incredibly moving. I thought the turn, you know, really it just got me. So great work. Do you have ties to Wichita?
No.
No,
I don't.
I could have swore. Okay, I must be thinking of someone else. I thought I remember reading that someone was actually from Wichita or something. It must have been a different short. Disregard.
No, I'm from Massachusetts, which is actually where I am right now. We escaped to LA where the virus spikes and the bad air quality. We grabbed the baby and
you were lucky. You're trapped here still.
You're trapped there. Yeah. Is that where you're at, Willa?
Yep.
I'm in the center of the country where no one feels the need to wear a mask. So I'm hiding out at home too. So I don't want to take up too much of your time today, but so anything exciting that you want to talk about, you're working on next? Umar, do you got anything happening soon? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think with this film, it was kind of the start of an initiative for me to kind of use my voice more. And this was I started a production company with this short called Flare, and I'm kind of trying to find ways to use my platform to tell more stories that are important to me about various topics like, gender or global warming and things like that. I think I've always wanted to kind of use my voice in those and express myself on those topics and what my views on it and my solutions. And so I'm trying to use my art as a way to kind of fuel that side of me too, and kind of tell important stories and raise awareness and hopefully actually affect change, which I want to do with this production company. I want it to be more than a production company, be something that actually can elicit change and get things done. So and use film and art and bring other artists together to kind of do the same thing. Like-minded people to talk about their causes that are important to them and issues that they want to see changed, or whatever the change they want to see in the world, the future they want to see, to help build that. So I'm currently just kind of working on what my next film is going to be based on a topic that's important to me, and also kind of building this community and company to tell important stories.
That's amazing. Yeah, if you got a voice, use it. I love it.
Right.
That's awesome. How about for you, Willa? What's happening for you?
That sounds awesome, by the way, Umar. That's really cool and kind of inspiring, because I just graduated during the pandemic. So it was kind of a rough time to graduate college. And so it's been like kind of hard to get your feet in the ground. This was actually my thesis film. It's been kind of hard to get your feet, you know, out anywhere, like to get your voice heard or to do very much of anything when you've just graduated and there's really no, you know, not very many job opportunities. It's just starting to open back up now. But I've just been writing and trying to continue to create like things on my own time with my own like limited resources and such. I have like tons of amazingly creative friends, so that's like extremely beneficial. But you know, exactly the same as you were saying, Umar, I just want to continue to tell stories that are, you know, rooted in things that I'm passionate about. And especially during these times, I've become even more like filled with passion and wanting to tell stories that are relevant and tell stories that, you know, can invoke new ideas in people's minds about all kinds of things. So, you know, hopefully I'm just on that track to continue to making things and, you know, continue making art and stories that can impact people and have them. Another thing that I would love to do is just tell stories that can bring a little bit of humanity back into people, because so much of our day-to-day is so polarizing and like, you know, intense and like constantly battling and fighting. And though, you know, that's necessary in the world, I think it would be super cool for some portion of our art and our media that we see to just remind us of like the amazing parts of being human as well. So that's something that I'm inspired to continue to write and continue to create films to evoke that feeling. That's
beautiful. Yeah, 100%. Well, keep at it. I guess one of the beauties of everyone being locked at home is if you're a good writer or creator, you can you got all the time in the world to hammer out scripts and stuff. That's awesome. So Jennifer, what's coming up for you?
I mean, it's been a very strange year where the industry has been all but shut down for most of it. Right before quarantine hit, I was acting on a TV show called Search Party, which is so fun and brilliant, created by Sarah Violet Bliss and Charles Rogers. So I did that. So that'll come out at some point, season 4 of Search Party. And then, yeah, I mean, really this year has been about finishing up my pregnancy and then having this baby. But now she's 4 months old and we're, you know, auditioning. Everything is done remotely. So all meetings are done over Zoom and auditions are just sent in over the internet. Honestly, I'm just doing a lot of like text banking and phone banking and trying to make sure that people get out and vote, because it's a pretty intense period of time for the country and the world. And I think that we need to see a big shift and a big change. And I'm doing all that I can to assist in that. And yeah, I mean, it's the future is uncertain. I'm attached to a couple of projects that will shoot when they deem it to be safe enough. And I'm lucky to collaborate with a lot of people who take it quite seriously and are not going to be jumping back in before they know that it's going to be safe for their actors and their crew to get back together. So just kind of riding this out and hoping to see a big shift next month with the country, and hopefully things will get better with this pandemic and we can all get back on set and making movies again together.
Yeah, that's been the craziest thing, just talking to everyone and just seeing just how earth-shatteringly shifted everyone's lives were. I mean, from the pandemic alone, but then just with everything else happening in the country and all of the divisiveness and all of that. Kudos to you for working the banks and stuff and making sure everyone's getting out there and vote. Make sure you vote, everyone. Vote.
Yeah, get out and vote.
Well, thank you all so much for joining me today. I feel like I could do this all day, but I don't want to keep you. So thank you to everyone that joined us for this and for watching all the films. Make sure you're voting for the films. Vote for your audience award winners, people. It's very important. And vote. for the president of the United States. So thank you guys so much for joining us for the 18th Annual Tallgrass Film Festival. Let's keep in touch and let's talk soon, okay?
Thank you for having
Great,
us.
thank you.
Bye.